had only 2 minutes to leave your beloved home, while the sky turned blazing red as if it were on fire, and flames roared, devouring every distant hill. Today is not a scene from a sci-fi movie. It is the reality that hundreds of thousands of Israelis have just experienced in their worst nightmare. In just a few hours, peaceful towns turned into fiery hells, with thick smoke covering the sky, temperatures soaring, and warning sirens blaring non-stop. More than 200,000 people had to evacuate urgently, many without taking anything except a small bag and a silent prayer in their hearts. What led to this terrifying disaster? Who is to blame? And more importantly, how can we prevent this from happening again anywhere else in the world? This is not just Israel's story, it is a warning for all humanity. Watch until the end to understand why the world is running out of time. Have you ever imagined waking up one morning, opening your door, and seeing the sky blazing orange? When the ground shakes not because of an earthquake, but because hundreds of fires are devouring forests and even the familiar homes you've known all your life? When sirens blare in the middle of the night and you have exactly 9 minutes to grab documents, medicine, your children, and run out of the house you've lived in your entire life? This is not a scene from a disaster movie. It is the reality happening right now in Israel. And you are watching Natural Destruction, where we bring you the raw truth about nature's fury. This is not just about wildfires. It's about a much more painful reality. The climate is heating up, the land is drying out, and human complacency is making these disasters more severe every day. If you're watching this video, don't look away, because what you're about to see might one day save you and your family. In just the past 48 hours, vast areas of northern and central Israel have turned into a living hell. Wildfires spread like a firestorm. Outdoor temperatures soared past 38 degrees Celsius. Humidity dropped below 15%. And hot desert winds blew fiercely at over 40 kilometers per hour, fueling the flames into an uncontrollable inferno. And the most frightening part? Israel's wildfire season has only just begun. At a nursing home in Carmel, staff members personally evacuated nearly 30 elderly residents using private cars and wheelchairs. There was no official evacuation plan in place. They had only one thing: courage. These people saved dozens of lives within seconds. And their story reminds us of one undeniable truth. Having an escape plan is not a luxury, it is a necessity. Every family and neighborhood must have one. An emergency bag, a paper map, a contact list, and 2 different exit routes. These are the things that can mean the difference between survival and tragedy. Israel's firefighting forces were immediately activated nationwide, mobilizing more than 70 local units along with 12 firefighting helicopters, 4 heavy water-dropping aircraft, and thousands of firefighters and volunteers. However, all efforts were hindered by extreme weather conditions. Temperatures soared to 41 degrees Celsius, and dry winds at level 6 caused most of the sprayed water to evaporate before even reaching the ground. The Ministry of Defense declared a state of emergency across central and northern regions. City governments in places like Modi'in, Ma'ale Adumim, and Rosh Hashanah quickly issued emergency evacuation orders via SMS, public radio, and blaring sirens throughout the night. Residents were instructed to bring only essential documents, medications, and drinking water, and to leave their homes as quickly as possible. At the Be'er Sheva Stadium, more than 4,000 people were evacuated within the first 4 hours. Schools, clinics, churches, and synagogues were all converted into temporary shelters. The emergency agency, Magen David Adom, immediately deployed hundreds of ambulances, field clinics, and rapid response teams to the hottest zones to provide first aid. Those who inhaled too much toxic smoke were transferred to major hospitals in Tel Aviv and Netanya. The Israeli Prime Minister convened an emergency cabinet meeting overnight and requested international assistance. Within hours, firefighting aircraft from Greece and Cyprus arrived with technical support teams. Firefighting groups from the West Bank also joined the battle against the blaze, putting aside political tensions because once the fire erupts, no border can hold it back. Satellite images from Modis showed the burn area spreading from the Carmel region to the western hills of Jerusalem. More than 1,500 hectares of forests, brush, and farmland were destroyed in less than 30 hours. Property damage is estimated in the hundreds of millions of USD. Thousands of homes and vehicles were either severely damaged or completely unusable. Smoke from major fires blanketed the skies over Tel Aviv, forcing airplanes to divert to backup airports in the south. Air monitoring stations from the Ministry of Environment recorded PM 2.5 levels exceeding safe limits by up to 12 times, directly affecting the health of the population, especially the elderly, children, and those with chronic respiratory conditions. In temporary shelters, dozens of NGOs and local councils set up food, water, and psychological support systems. Israeli police, in coordination with the army, strictly enforced security in evacuation zones to prevent looting, chaos, and theft, while people were left without homes to return to. Experts warn that given the current weather pattern, fire risk remains high for several more days, especially as winds continue to shift and there's no sign of rain. Meteorological stations across the country have been placed on 24-hour alert, issuing updates every 2 hours to keep the public informed. There is no denying that this is one of the most severe wildfires in modern Israeli history, not just due to the scale of damage, but because of the speed and widespread destruction it has caused. Never before have the people of Israel so clearly realized that nature, when left unchecked, can become the most brutal enemy. In a quiet moment amid the stream of evacuees, there was an elderly man, nearly 90 years old, named Eliyahu, sitting by the roadside with a scorched bird cage in his hands. He murmured, "It was a birthday gift from my wife when she was still alive. It was the only memory I had left, and now it's gone too." And that one sentence made us realize it wasn't the property, it wasn't the house. It was the memories of a lifetime that had been burned away by the helplessness of an entire system. In Ramla, a nurse named Orna was on her way home after a night shift when she came across a group of elderly people trapped in a nursing home that had lost power and was filled with smoke. Instead of driving on, she turned around and, along with a few passers-by, carried each elderly person out, despite the suffocating air that made it hard to breathe. These actions didn't appear on television, weren't shared millions of times, but they are the true identity of a nation that always rises from the ashes. The wildfire disaster in Israel is not just a wake-up call for that country alone, but for the entire world, as global climate change becomes a pressing threat with each passing day and hour. This is no longer a forecast, no longer a hypothetical model. It is a harsh reality unfolding right before our eyes. From California in the United States to British Columbia in Canada, from the island of Rhodes in Greece to Alberta in Canada, from the ancient Amazon rainforest to the birch forests of Siberia, fire is consuming humanity's peace everywhere. When nature's fury passes, we stand among the ruins and ashes to reflect on the way we live, on the values that truly matter. In a world spinning with the speed of growth and modern technology, a single wildfire reminds us that, in the end, the most precious things are not skyscrapers or vast wealth, but life itself, unity, and how we stand together in times of crisis. The 200,000 plus people affected in Israel are not just faceless statistics. They are children who lost their school books, elderly people who lost their resting places, parents who lost their homes, young people who lost hope for tomorrow. Each story is a sorrowful melody within the chaotic symphony of this age of fire, a force that is fast becoming the symbol of the 21st century. We cannot control the wind, cannot command the sun to stop burning, nor forbid the forests from catching fire. But we can control how we treat nature. We can choose to live in harmony instead of exploitation. We can choose to protect instead of ignore. We can choose to awaken before being jolted awake by fire sirens at midnight. If you're watching this video from a safe place, please don't see it as just a distant tragedy. Look out your window. Look at the nearby forest, the stream where you once played, or the field where you strolled with loved ones. Ask yourself, how much longer will they survive if you stay silent today? If you continue to view wildfire reports as just news instead of a personal warning? I'm your weather host from Natural Destruction, and I want to emphasize one last time. Our planet is no longer simply in danger. It is sounding a clear alarm every single day, every single hour. Don't wait for the lesson to come through smoke and tears. Let action come before disaster. Prepare for the future today before the wind shifts, before the next flame leaves us no chance to make